some data together make a meaningful information. So you can say that IT has 87 vacancies. This is an information. Now from this table, if I ask you a question that which sector has more number of vacancies, then what you will do, you will definitely say IT has more number of vacancies because it is more than banking and it is more than other sectors. So what you did is you checked the data information in the table one by another and you compared the information and then you came out a result that IT has more number of vacancies. So when you compare a lot of information together and come up with a result, and that result is called knowledge. Knowledge. So data, this was individual data. This was individual data and some interrelated data together made the information, and then from all this information when we compare together and came up with the result, hidden result, then it is called knowledge. So we got a clear idea about data, information and knowledge. SQL Server is a tool where we can store the data, and of course from this data we can extract data, we can research the data, we can analyze the data, and we can come up with information and knowledge. So that's why today if you talk about the fourth industrial revolution, people are giving a lot of focus to the data science, data analytics. So because people think that data is very, very valuable. So we can analyze the data using SQL Server and we can come up with hidden information as well as knowledge. So in SQL Server, as we said, it is RDBMS, it is Relational Database Management System, because all the data that we store in SQL Server is basically in tabular format. We store the data in tabular format, not in flat file system, but it is in tabular format. For example, rule and name. So that means 1, 2, 3, A, B, C. So it's a tabular format. We store all the data in SQL Server in tabular format. Now, for example, this is my student table, and then I create another table that is result, and here we don't need to enter repeatedly the roll number and name in this table also, because in RDBMS we can connect one table to another table. So we don't need to repeat the information that you have already entered in one table. What we can do is simply we can make a relationship between this column and this column. We just put a roll number. We don't need to put any name, then the address, then the phone number, then the batch number, then this, that, all this information that we have entered already, we don't need to put it in the result table. We just put a roll number and then we say the subject and then the marks. So what we do is roll number 1, for example, he has set for 2 exams, and roll number 2, this is probably physics, this is chemistry, and this is math. This is 78, 81, and 85. So what we did is we created one table called result, and we have entered some data. Now, if we connect this column to this column, we make a relationship, and then data will be integrated. Integrated means data will be valid. All the information that you enter will be valid. For example, you have rule number 1, 2, and 3, but rule number 5 is not there in this table. So rule number 5 you cannot enter in this table. When you try to enter this, then it will show an error message because the tables are interrelated. So to enforce this type of integrity, we need to put some constraint. there are different type of constraints. For example, number one is primary key, and here we can put a foreign key. Primary key means in a table, if you want to enter the data which is not duplicate, you want to enter unique data, and you don't want to allow any duplicate data or record. In that case, you can put a primary key in a table. So rule number 1, 2, and 3. If you try to enter rule number 3 again, it will give an error message. It is not possible because it has a primary key rule enforced. But on the other hand, in foreign key, this same number of row you can enter many times. For example, row number 1 you can enter many times. Row number 2 you can enter many times. But the rule number 5 is not available here. This rule number 5 you cannot enter here because this information, this data is connected to this one. Foreign key is always connected to the primary key. So we have a lot of other constraints also. For example, unique key, then secondary key. We will discuss about this in detail. Now we'll talk about little bit of normalization. We'll talk about normalization. What is normalization is, in SQL Server you cannot enter any number of column if you want. For example, you create one table with a lot of column. For example, you enter roll number, you enter name, you enter phone number, you enter batch detail, you enter, for example, subject, you enter the marks, and then you enter his exam date. So here you see when a student come to the center for registration, you enter his basic information like roll number, name, his phone number, his email ID, like that. But then when this student sit for the exam, you need to enter his exam date. So what do you do? Again you have to enter the role, name, phone number, subject, marks, and then the exam date. Suppose the guy sit for the exam, so you get his result. In that case also you need to put role, name, phone, subject, and then the marks, then the exam date. So you are repeating the information in a single table, which is not a good practice. So there is a term in SQL Server called normalization. So for normalization, what you do is we break down the table into small table, which is not repeating, which is for a single purpose. We create a single table, entity based, table based. For example, students' basic information will be stored in a single table. So you can put a different separate table called student table or student master table. When students sit for the exam, so you can create a separate table for the exam's detail, like exam's date, student's name, which subject he sit for the exam, like that, exam related information only. When the student get the result, for that purpose only we can create another table called result table, where we can enter the result related information only. But if you put all the information together in a single table, it is not a good practice. It will not give you the output properly. It will create a lot of problems and the performance issue also. So what we do is normalization. Basically there are three types of main normalization. One is first normal form, second normal form, and the third normal form. And for each of this normal form, there are some norms, some system through which we can break down the table into smaller format. There is another type of normal form called BCNF, Boyes Code Normal Form. So we'll talk about these normal forms also in detail. So I think for today this much is good enough. We'll talk about the other topic